You are listening to the Starter Girls podcast with Jennifer Loading. Whether you are starting a project, starting a business, starting a brand, or starting a movement, we are here to talk about it. So we're going to get this thing kicked off real quick with the mantra, and then I'm going to welcome my guest onto the show. It's a great day to be brave. You might as well start now. You have the power to change your circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Rise up, be amazing, be you, do you. All right, guys, I'm super excited to welcome Haley Sicking to the Starter Girls podcast. Welcome, Haley.
Hi.
All right, so what we're going to do here real quick, Haley, I'm going to read the bio. I want to tell our listeners a little bit about you so they can get to know you, and then we're going to jump right into this and start talking to you. I'm super excited to get on this show with you today. All right, hailed by Opera News as blossoming in real time with her creamily sung Rosalind and in Brooklyn discovery for her truly bravura performance, generous and ample soprano and strong coloratura. And I'm going to tell my audience really quick, I'm probably going to butcher this bio. It is beautiful. Soprano Haley Sicking has thrilled audiences with her versatile performances in opera, concert, recital, musical theater, jazz, and early and contemporary music. Haley made her Carnegie Hall debut in 2016 as a soloist in Rutter's Requiem and the world premiere of Glasgow's Requiem. After performing a concert tour in China, including operatic musical theater repertoire in 18 different cities, Haley has become a frequent guest artist in cities all over China. She has several upcoming performances as the soprano soloist in Beethoven's Symphony No. 9, a pops concert with the San Angelo Symphony, and will then be preparing for her work as Mimi in La Boheme in Columbus. Oh my goodness, I love it. All right, Haley is currently working on a wonderful new opera called Beau by Ellen Selden. This new opera is based on the life of Beau, and I don't know how to say that last name, Haley. You might have to tell me that.
Beau
All right. I love it. A former Chinese politician and convicted criminal who remains incarcerated in China today. She is also using this time to record several albums and develop a music program to help encourage the development of art and connection. Haley has performed in several leading opera roles, and I'm not going to name all these, but they're all incredible. She's been Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. She has been Helena in A Midnight Summer's Dream. She's also been the governess in The Turn of the Screw and many more. Aside from her performing career, Haley has developed a unique skill and ability to align people with a heightened awareness and connection to self. She has a studio in which she teaches energetic healing through the use of voice and leads an inner beauty workshop with young girls. She's passionate about movement and connection to body and is certified in personal training, Zumba, breathe, and yoga. I love it, Haley. Oh my goodness. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You have so many great things. I looked at your bio earlier today and I'm like, okay, there's a lot here, a lot of words for Miss Jennifer to try to pronounce here. And I did take some French, but there's a lot of words here.
Lots of different languages in my resume.
I love this. No, I love it. I love it. So I want to jump into this and I want to talk about how this came about for you. Like, how did this happen? Because I read here that you made your debut in 2016. So take us through this, how this all came about for you.
How I became an opera singer or
Sure.
specifically? Okay. Well, so I grew up in Plano, Texas. I grew up with a father who was a geophysicist and a mother who was an RN, but they also owned a music store in which I would lie on my mat in the back room and listen to the classical music lessons going on all around me. And so I think from a very early age, from birth, I was surrounded by all different types of music. And music has always been very important to me, a really strong part of my life. My mother makes the joke that I was singing before I was speaking, humming. And, I think one of the first things I said was, some kind of nursery rhyme that you sang about 12 little monkeys jumping on the bed or something silly like that. And so I grew up singing in church and did every musical, every theater performance that I could get my hands on as a child and in middle school and high school. I was the lead in every musical in high school. And, when you go to college, if you want to major in music, you kind of have to choose. There's like this Y in the road, right? Where you have to choose classical or musical theater. And I was so equally passionate about both, but I felt that getting a degree in the classical world would lead to more opportunities or a wider spectrum of opportunities as I got older. So that's the direction I went. But I've obviously equally pursued and performed in both throughout my whole career. And yeah, I love everything. I love jazz. I love singing in all different styles. So,
you know what I love about this is that, oftentimes when I'm talking to people on this show, it's so funny how people will kind of start out one direction and then they sort of navigate and end up somewhere else. And I love that you kind of saw this very early on and grasped onto that, and you just kind of kept moving in that. You know what I mean? Like, you knew very early on that you wanted to do that and work towards that.
It's incredible because I think I knew from a very young age that there was something very powerful about music and about art in general, dance, theater, performing arts of all kinds. But I didn't get a grasp of really what that meant to me and how deep that actually went until I was much older. So as much as I loved to sing when I was a child, I don't think I understood the reasoning behind it and the spiritual connection and that aspect of it until I was so much older. So it's very powerful to me.
Sure. And let's talk about a little bit about what you're doing at your studio now, because you're essentially using some of your background and what you know to help and help these young girls and stuff. So let's talk about that. Tell us a little bit about what you do with that.
Yeah. So, it's really fascinating. The voice is intrinsically connected to the psyche. And so any energetic or emotional block that you have in your emotional being shows up in your voice. It is literally impossible to hide when you sing. And so that's one of the reasons singing is such a vulnerable thing. And a lot of my students, when they come to their lessons, in the first several lessons will cry and they don't understand why. And a lot of it is because they're exposing things, even though they may not know exactly what it is. They're exposing the emotion behind certain events. They may have been even completely unaware of. And so it's a really fascinating thing through the work of breath and body connection and listening to the different resonant chambers in the body and the skull. You can really hear and sense and feel where those blockages are and free people. And it's such an empowering process for people. So in my teaching, one example of an aspect of something I teach is I use this idea of being like a pane of glass. And so this is applicable to everything in life, I believe, but I specifically use this as an example for my students. And I got the origin of the baseline of the idea is from Joyce DiDonato, who's a very famous opera singer. And so the idea is you have this pane of glass, and glass is impossible to keep clean. It always has fingerprints on it or little crumbs or streaks. It's impossible. And so as the pane of glass, it is our job, our responsibility to continually be doing what we need to do to keep ourselves clean. And what that means is that when you're on stage or when you're going throughout your life in your day, when things from other people come at you, it passes right through because you've done the work to clean your pane of glass, right? If you've not done the work and you've gunked yourself all up with triggers and traumas and emotions that are undealt with, then they get stuck and you start to carry other people's baggage because it can't go through you. Okay. And so as specifically as a performer and as what I'll say is as a communicator, which I believe is all of our jobs on this planet, is to be an open communicative vessel for a message that is not necessarily ours. In order to communicate that message, you have to be clean so that the message can shine through you clearly. Right. So when I'm on stage or when I'm teaching, that pane of glass has to be clear so the message can shine through me and so that other people's stuff can pass through me and not get stuck. And so obviously there's a lot of levels to that. You know, we talk a lot about boundaries and healing and the masculine and feminine and a lot of different things, but it's just a really powerful concept that starts, you know, you have to start where you are.
Right.
You have to start with connection to self. And if you speak spiritually, I usually say connection to self and God, you know, because it requires both.
Sure.
So
sure.
Yeah.
I love this. I love this. So many things I was thinking about. One funny thing, and this is like totally just random. I was thinking about this. So when you were talking about, you know, music and how powerful it is and whatever form that is, dance or whatever. So in our house, I grew up doing dance and none of my girls,
Cool.
yeah, I was a dancer and did that for a while. None of my girls, I have 2 girls and none of them, my oldest took dance for a little while and we recognized when she was like, not into it, that probably was not going to be her thing. But she plays instruments and she's very gifted at the piano, where it's like, I can play music, but I have to read music. She can actually hear music and transform that on the piano. Very gifted in that area.
That's awesome.
But I will tell you a funny story about her when she was a kid. She had this song called The Wigwam. And every time she was mad at us, she would go in the room and we would hear The Wigwam. And that's how we knew that Kara was mad at us and was venting. So when you talk about music being powerful, that's what's coming to mind right now, because we would hear her. And it was a very short song in her that she had to learn, but we would like hear it in succession, like multiple times. And I'm like, okay, is she going to stop with The Wigwam? So as you were talking about that, not to make light because your information is so incredible, but that's what I was thinking about at the beginning was the Wigwam song that Kara used to torture us with. So
well, you know, she was using it as a communication of some kind, right?
Exactly. She communicated. She's mad at mom and dad right now. We're gonna torture him with the Wigwam. It was actually a cool song, but it was very, you know, like for her, very powerful in a release of frustration. So, but I agree with you on all of that.
Well, and it's incredible because I think every form of music has the ability to communicate something. But I personally feel so passionate about opera for so many reasons. One, I find that it's one of the only skill sets that I have that challenges me to the extent that it requires all of me. You know, you cannot, you can't forget. You can't let your guard go for 1 second when you're doing an opera because there's so many different aspects. You're singing in a foreign language, you know. I mean, there's so many different things, and what it requires of me in order to prepare it is so much greater. But in terms of the audience members, you know, to me, there's a huge difference between performing entertainment and art.
Sure.
You know, I always say, or one of my friends actually told me, you know, performance is, what does he say? Well, anyways, it doesn't matter. But, you know, an entertainment is a regurgitation of somebody else's information. Art is a creation.
Sure.
Right. And it comes from something deep within you. And especially in opera, there's something required of the audience member that is being forgotten by society. It's also your job to prepare to go see a performance like that, to invest emotionally, to invest intellectually. And I think that's not being taught enough, you know, and I think connection, there's a level to connection that people are not being made aware of enough. Everybody talks about connection, but connection is a practice. Connection requires something of you. It requires that you take the small steps every single day to be prepared for when that opportunity for connection shows itself. You know, and one example of that is when you go to the opera. If you're not prepared for what you're about to receive, there's no way you'll connect with it.
Right.
If you don't read about what the opera's about, if you don't listen to the music, study the composer, know anything about what you're about to be, you know, privy to watching, it's going to be difficult for you to get everything that is possible for you out of that experience.
Sure.
So, you know, and again, I believe that's true of everything in life.
Right. Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I love that, all the connections, and I really love what you're doing. I also love that you're like certified in personal training and Zumba and all these. So you've really taken just this, and we've talked about this off the screen, about this whole holistic approach to everything that you're doing.
Absolutely.
It's not just about this one piece, you know, and something you said a little while ago when you were talking about just really being when you were talking about how you can't forget that you're an opera singer. You can't just show up. You can't just be there and it's going to happen. But I think there's something magical here by what you're talking about. And it's what I took this course, and I just finished it up a few weeks ago, but it was a life of fulfillment and happiness. And they were talking about these flow moments that you have when you are in your zone and you're shining, you know, you're not having to work at that. You know what I mean? Like it's coming, it's exuding from you because you're enjoying what you do. And I can see that in you. Like I can see that coming across. So I can absolutely respect the fact that you can't just show up, but at the same time, this is definitely your thing. You know what I mean? This is your thing.
Well, it's so much because there's so much preparation that you have to do in order to experience that which you just said about that thing from within you shining. That thing from within you cannot shine unless you have done the preparation enough that you can let go and the actual message can shine.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So it's,
100%.
Yeah.
Well, and in that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, please.
Well, I was going to say, in that course, they said for you to be an expert in your domain, you need 10,000 hours of flow moments. So that's about 10 years of practice, you know, to get in those moments. So, but I agree with you 100%. You're not able to, you can't do anything like that where you just show up like that. You know, you've got to, the work's got to be put in, but that's right. It gives you that ability to have those moments where you can shine from the inside out. So kudos to you. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. And in response to what you said about the Zumba and the personal training and the yoga, oh gosh, you know, so you asked about what led me here. You know, one really important part of my story is right after grad school, I was in a very bad car accident. And, you know, my jaw was knocked out of place. My collarbone was knocked out of place, and all of my back and my hip. Wow. And a lot of things were messed up. And I had to take a very long break from singing for physical reasons, for healing, you know, and then dealing with the grief of letting go of what was my body and accepting what is my body now, which, you know, interesting, brings up a whole nother conversation about, you know, women have to do that throughout their whole lives. And men, unless they have something drastic happen, don't really have to do that. But it was a part of our being. And the decisions that I made in my healing were such an important part of where I am today, because it would have been very easy for me to be like, oh, well, that's it. You know, I missed my opportunity.
Sure.
But instead I started yoga, which I had never done before up until that point, and went 5 times a week for a month. And after they told me, well, you're going to need surgery for this and you're going to need surgery for that, after 5 weeks of going to yoga regularly, I was 100% healed.
Wow.
From my neck down, in my body, not so much up here yet. It was incredible. And so that was actually what led me to want to get certified in yoga, and then breath and meditation. And, you know, and it just, one thing led to another, and it has led me down the path that helped me to understand actually what art is and the power of it and why it is so necessary and important in this world. And I don't think without that car accident, I mean, maybe there would have been another avenue in which I learned those things. But it's just amazing what happens, you know, sometimes how things work out.
Absolutely. I 100% I agree with you on that. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, when you're going through the moment of those so-called crises, you wish you weren't going through them, but I always feel like there are powerful messages that come out of those. And, you know, if you can find that silver lining, which you did, I think that's just incredible. Your story is extremely compelling. So I love that you've been able to turn that around. And I do believe in the yoga. I took training for yoga as well. So I believe 100% in it. There's a lot of mind body connection there. And you and I we do different things, but we have some parallels. I love that you're very holistic in the things that you do. It resonates very well with what I try to do in the message that I'm trying to convey. So I love all that. I want to ask you, who would you say has been your greatest influencers in all of this?
Oh gosh, personally, directly, in the world of music, I would actually say is one of my coaches. Obviously my parents are incredible support and yes, but directly in the world of music, I would say probably Dr. Stephen Dubberly, who is on the faculty at UNT, University of North Texas, but he is a coach and a confidant in Dallas that I trust so much musically, and he speaks 9 languages. And,
oh my goodness! Wow.
And just has such a vast knowledge of opera and history, and he's just an incredibly genius of a human being, and he believed in me from the very beginning. So I did my bachelor's at UNT, which is where I met him.
Okay.
And I still coach with him to this day. From day one, he just believed in me and supported me and built me up. And the thing I love most about him, which I think so many people miss out on in this world, is he does not sugarcoat things. He is like, this, you're doing this wrong. You need to fix this. He's very direct, but I appreciate that, because that's why I'm there.
Right.
I'm not there for him to tell me, oh, you're just amazing, right? I want to actually improve so I can communicate better with more people.
Yes.
So that's one of the things I love about him, is he has a lot to tell me, and it's all really constructive, and it's amazing to work with him.
I love it.
And then vocally, in terms of another singer, I tend to go with Maria Callas. I listen to her, for technical and emotional. I mean, I love her. I think she's incredible. So
that's awesome. Awesome. And what do you love? I guess I always love to ask this question. What do you love most about what you get to do? What's the best part?
I love this question too, actually. The thing I love most about what I get to do is I think for most people in their careers and in their lives, it is so easy to fall into the mundane, to fall into the day-to-day, and they forget to do the work. And one thing about being an artist is you have to do the work. And so what I love about it is it offers the opportunity on a daily basis for me to practice connection and vulnerability. And I just think that is something that this world needs so much more of. And I'm lucky enough it is required of me in order to do my job. And so I don't get to go to work today without practicing those things. And it's like a roundabout way of making sure I stay in line, which is, in its own way, it's an incredibly beautiful blessing, as hard as it may feel sometimes.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that. And you're so right about the whole mundane thing. And I think it's even better when you get to do something that you really love to do. When you get to do things that are allowing you to tap into that creative zone and just, that word again, shine. You know what I mean? I think
Absolutely.
That is such a great thing to be able to do that. So I love that. And I love that question. I always like to ask that one. It's just a fun question. It gets you really thinking about, why do you do what you do? It's when I'm coaching people, I ask them that a lot. I'll be like, what do you love about what you get to do? Because if you're not loving what you're doing, then maybe we need to rethink what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, might want to rethink that.
Absolutely.
So I love that. I love that. And then the other question I want to ask you, and this is my other favorite one, is in your terms, in Haley's terms, how do you define success? What does that look like for you?
How do I put? So for me, a successful day is when I have taken care of my mind and my soul. And at the end of the day, I feel fulfilled.
I love it.
And I say that because obviously financial success and all of those things are important to a level. But, I think once you have certain needs met and you're pretty much comfortable, to say the least, those are the levels that I measure for success that are truly important. You know, did I take care of myself physically? Did I take care of myself mentally and spiritually today? And if I did those things, I usually feel very fulfilled with my day.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is a good answer. I like that answer. That was really good. Because, you know, the success question is always different for everybody. I mean, you know, some people, it's very much, they put a goal to it, you know, as a sense of maybe there's a financial tag on that. I'm not very much that way. I'm like you. To me, it's all about peace and sanity and being true to myself. If what I'm doing at the end of the day, it taps into my creative zone and I get to do what's important to my core values and I'm happy doing all that, I'm happy. I'm a happy person, you know, because I think all that, I think all the financial success, all of those other things follow. They follow behind those things when you're truly enjoying what you're doing and you're living in alignment with your core values. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing like being in a job that you hate because you're getting a lot of money, but you hate it every day and your health is compromised, your well-being is compromised, all of that. So I love your answer, Haley. That was awesome. All right, so I got to ask you some fun rapid fire before I wrap this up really quick. Okay, so fun questions here. This is fun. This is fun. I know. See, I told you this could go on forever. All right, so are you a cat or dog person?
I'm going to say dog because I have a dog and I love him, but I also really like cats, which I didn't know until I fostered one.
Okay, good answer. Good answer. I have both, so I'm with you on that one. All right. Are you a morning or a night person?
Again, I'm going to say night, but I love the peacefulness of the morning. But I'm very much a night owl. I'm very drawn, you know, it's in my lifestyle, my career. We tend to work at night and everything. So I tend to be drawn very much to the nighttime. You know, but I also love, so one of my favorite things to do is walk by the ocean at night, or since I'm not by the ocean here in Dallas, go out in the moonlight and like dance around outside or swim at night. And so like the moonlight is just such, I don't know, there's something very magical about it to me and I love it. So I go out in the moonlight every night.
I could see you doing that. Totally could see you doing that. All right. And Haley, what is your favorite food?
Impossible question.
You have too many. I take it you just have too many, right?
I love food. I love clean food. I love food. Sometimes I like, you know, dirty food, fast food and stuff, but that's so rare for me. I'm very drawn to really fresh ingredients, really nice combinations of different textures and flavors, but there's no way I could pick one. It depends on the day. Hey,
that's okay. That's totally, hey, you know what? It's all right. But I knew you were going to say clean. I already knew that. That was not a question. We didn't even have to go that direction. All right. And then if you could be any character superhero for a day, what would you pick?
You know, if I were going to pick a superhero, it would totally be Wonder Woman. But if it were any character, do you remember Xena?
Yes, I do remember Xena. Yes.
Xena the Warrior Princess. Or maybe Cleopatra. I
could totally see both of those, and I do know Xena. Totally can see it.
Yeah.
I love you. So I'm going to tell you this really funny story. So I had a girl on a really beautiful girl on my show, Roya Mattis, and she came on and had this really cute, like almost your color top. You remind me of her. You need to listen to her podcast because she talked about her whole thing is the Xena's tribe. And she talks about masculine and feminine energy. And oh my gosh, you two almost remind me of each other. It's hilarious. Like I've got to show you her show and I'm going to have to connect you two because even y'all's energy, like all of it reminds me of each other. I love it. So what I want to say here really quick, I want you to tell our listeners, if they want to come learn a little bit more about you, what you've got going on, what you're doing, all of that, where do they come find you?
Well, so you can go to my website, HaleySicking.com. It's HaleySicking.com. They can also follow me on Instagram at Haley_Sicking, or on Facebook at Haley Sicking Vocalist. Yeah. And
Can you see it scrolling? Are you able to see it scrolling?
No, I can't.
Oh, so we have all your contact.
Scrolled up enough.
Yeah, we have all your contact information on here. And when we put this out, we're going to be sure to put it all out for you so people can find you and all that good stuff. So, all right. So with that, what I want to say, Haley, this has been fun. We could have sat here for a while. I could have asked you a bunch of questions. I love your energy and I love what you're doing. And you keep being you. You keep doing your thing, girl. I love what you're doing. So I do want to say to our listeners, of course, if you love our podcast, please be sure you give us a rating on both iTunes and Facebook because we can't do this without you. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And with that, I'm going to close with this real quick. This thought. Focus on the positive in your life, for what you focus on increases. All right, you guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.